All right, motherfuckers. I damn near just filmed this entire freaking video, and I'm still not used to these freaking new mics. It didn't press record on the mic. So we're doing it again. All right. F80 is broke. It's not actually broke, but there is something wrong with it, and I'm going to use that for the title because it's more juicy. So, getting smoke out of the exhaust, and it's got a smell to it. I'm 99% sure it's blown turbos. So, damn, I really said all this shit already, bro. That's crazy. So, I go to pick up the car from the shop, right? The original plan was the new engine came with good turbos, and the dude also gave me two turbos that had 40K miles on them. Give the turbos to the shop. When I dropped the engine off, said, can we use these ones? They have 40K miles on them. He said it'll be more work. It'll cost more. I said, let's do it. They have less miles. It's like the most important part of the engine that isn't the engine itself. Hadn't heard anything about it. They say, car's ready. Come pick it up. I'm stoked. I pull up, ready to pay. They tell me they used the turbos from the old engine. I'm not trying to slander the shop. They're nice people. They get good reviews. I think they'll fix it for me. I hope. So they used the turbos from the old engine, which I'm 99% sure they're blown. It just has all the symptoms of blown turbos. And it doesn't really affect the way the car drives whatsoever, but you get smoke out of the exhaust and you can smell it. I can't really see the logic behind using the 100K mile turbos besides it being easier, because the ones on the new engine had a broken wastegate, so you'd have to put a wastegate on there, and I think you have to like do some fancy electrical wastegate things, which may have been a pain in the ass, which is possibly why they chose not to do that, besides the actual physical labor of switching the turbos. But maybe that's easier when the engine's out. It might not be that difficult. But to take the turbos from an engine that has more miles than the new engine that has blown up. So, like, for all we know, there could be all kinds of metal shavings and all this kind of stuff in the turbo. Luckily, I don't think that's the case. Also, the plan was to use the 40K mile turbos, and the payment for all of this is nearly in the five figures. So the least you could do is just call me and say, hey, we're not using the 40K mile turbos. What do you want to do? 2 minutes. 2 minutes every time. That's all it takes. I have faith that they'll fix it, but wildly inconvenient for me and just a crazy lapse of judgment, in my opinion. And I'm like 99% sure I mentioned that they were blown to him. They're doing a lot of stuff in the day. There's probably a lot going on inside their heads. Just call me. Just ask. Just call. But I think they'll fix it. So I'm not trying to slander the shop. I also don't even think you guys know what shop it is, so it kind of doesn't matter. But with that being said, I'm not blowing up this friggin' engine. So we're not driving the damn thing until I'll probably drive it to the shop and just keep it out of boost. The car drives fine. But like I said, I'm not blowing up this friggin' engine. Knock on TE37s. I've done that once already. So double luck, I guess, you know. All right. So now I have three theories as to why the old engine blew up, right? One, so we are on stage 2, 91 octane tune. Basically, the gas here in Arizona is already bad. I've just read on forums that like California, Arizona gas is just not great. And I was using Sam's Club gas, which is not even a top tier gas. And even on the gas store itself, it says like 93 octane, or recommended 93 octane, 91 minimum. And that's without a tune, and we're tuned. So it could have been a tuning thing, like detonation, yada yada. make you go boom boom, like like Metro Boomin.
Metro Boomin, make it boom.
And theory number 2 is the blown turbos. My main guess is probably that it was a mix of the first two. Like, if the tune is already at its very limits because it's shitty 91 octane gas and it's making like the edge of that power. I know the off the shelf maps are supposed to be like pretty chill in terms of like pushing it, but if it was shitty gas and even more like shitty gas, plus theory number 2, I feel like that's what made it go boom. Theory number 2 is the turbos are blown, which I say I'm 99% sure. I'm sure that the turbos are blown because I was getting the same exact problems on the old engine as I am now. And the only part from the old engine on the new one is the turbos. For the most part. Like the only major component. So we're assuming that the turbos were blown, leaking oil into the combustion chamber. Enough oil in there with the bad tune. Not a bad tune, but with it at the limits already and you're throwing a bunch of oil in the combustion chamber, can't be good. Theory number 3 is obviously crank hub failure. It's the most common failure on these engines. It's really up in the air. I haven't torn apart the old engine yet. I am going to bring it home tomorrow. Probably just going to sell it and see how much I can get for it. I've seen like blown engines on eBay sell for like $3,000, which is insane, but hopefully we can get a decent chunk of change from that, which should help pay for this engine. But yeah, that's an obvious theory. It does seem like on forums and like just from watching YouTube videos, it seems more common that it'll fail, not catastrophically, like it'll just be out of time and it'll go into whatever, like drive chain malfunction mode, tow it to a shop, they can fix it. It's expensive, but they'll fix it. So it's basically one of those 3 things, right? And we want to make sure this engine doesn't blow up. So theory number 3, we've already got that out of the way. We've got the SSR 4-pin crank hub fix, so we don't have to worry about the crank hub failing. Theory number 2 is the current problem, which is why I'm not driving this car. So we don't want oil in the combustion chamber any more than there is supposed to be. So we're going to get those old turbos on, hopefully. If they're not willing to fix it, whatever, I'll scrounge up some money and we'll get some freaking brand new turbos and take it somewhere else. Because we're not blowing up this engine. And theory number 1, actually fixed today. So I'm leaving it on stage 2 91 octane, but instead of going to Sam's Club, which is idiotic, I now realize, went to Shell, and it's an E85 station, so you fill it up with, I guess, 3.5 gallons of E85 and the rest with 91, and that gives us an effective like 93 octane rating, so more than enough octane. And people run full 85 E85 through these tanks without a problem. It is recommended to like run regular gas through it every like 3,000 miles just so you're not like gunking up the injectors in the gas tank. But in terms of like injector capacity and running things lean, like not having enough fuel going through, I guess, like not having enough fuel system to feed the engine, not a problem. So that should solve theory number 1. So all we got to worry about is theory number 2, and should be in the clear. Now, once we get new charge pipes on this thing, we still have the stock ones, and they're plastic, and apparently they crack if you do high boost. I want to run an E30 tune, just because E85 tune is like kind of pushing it towards the limits of the actual like short block, in my opinion. Especially in terms of like longevity. I think an E30 tune is perfect, because if we run an E30 tune on full E85, that's like the safest. Like we'll be like 10 octane higher than we need to, which is like way more safe than it even needs to be. E30 will put us at like 600 crank horsepower. Actually, I think it's a little bit more than that, but the safe power level where it's still nutty and can probably beat 99% of the thing stuff on the street as long as you have sticky enough tires. But it's not something I need to stress about, which is like absolutely ideal. 85 costs less than 91. Obviously, it burns faster, so whatever. Um, Gas station's close, or it's like the same distance as Sam's Club, and it smells yummy. So, but that's the plan. Yeah, I'm gonna take this thing to the shop tomorrow. See if they'll fix it for me. Fingers are crossed. I got faith. It's definitely inconvenient, but shit happens. We make mistakes. I made a $15,000 one, so yeah. Hopefully they'll fix it for me, and we'll see what happens. I'll catch y'all in the next video.